What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is DH Thorne here. How's everybody doing tonight? So, sorry I'm a little bit late. I got a little held up, but everything's okay. Today was kind of a rough day for me. I woke up today and I felt like just utter crap. I had a very rare silent or ocular migraine. I'm not sure which, but it was one of those two. I used to get them a lot when I was younger. I used to get them so bad that I would get these auras where I would see like a literal hole in my vision and I couldn't see anything. Like it was almost like what it looks like behind your eyes. There was like nothing there. But the edges were really, really, really blurry, jagged, bright, shiny. Well, not today. Today was, I woke up. My son was kind enough to make sure I was up by a certain time. He's like, Dad, you got to get up. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I roll over, and I opened my eyes, and I rolled over, and I looked at the ceiling, and the ceiling just looked like it kept going. And I felt like the whole room was swimming and spinning, and I was just like, uh-oh. So I took a little while, and I waited for that to stop, and I finally got up, got myself together, and I came out here, and just, you know, life on all cylinders just starts hitting you. You have these, you know, phone calls you don't want to deal with, and I don't know any of you who get these. If you get a migraine like this, you get like a mood swing. You can get really annoyed with little things. Food can make you nauseous. It can make you irritable. It can make you drowsy. So I was like, oh, am I even going to do a stream tonight? Oh, I don't know. So that's why I didn't put anything up about tonight. So for those of you who were kind of caught off guard about whether I was going to do a stream tonight or not, that's why. It was only like an hour or two ago. I'm like, you know, I think I'm fine, because migraines can last all day. I mean, they can last days. Some people have had them for many days. So this is probably a result of a lack of exercise, because we're all in COVID land, and me being self-employed, not having to work at a hardcore physical tree and shrub nursery job, kind of has that too. But you know, that's definitely what held me up a little bit today, and so I'm a little behind on everything. But I do have a video that I shot earlier, and it will be going up in the next day or two, and it's a viewer request video. Those of you who may be following me on Facebook know that I have a whole bunch of people responding to a post I made asking for viewer requests, like what you guys want me to talk about in upcoming pre-recorded videos rather than streams. So let's see who's here tonight, and we'll get the ball rolling. We'll start talking about the topic at hand, which I tentatively set for invoking your true intention, because that's a really important aspect of doing anything, be it magic or not. So let's see. Tara, what's up, Tara? And Tasha, Roberto, Johan, my brother, I'm glad to see you here. Steroid Maximus, my friend. Yepson, I know who that is. Carrie Darkstar, Lawrence Espinoza, thank you, brother. Jason Michael, Star Ruby. Look at everybody. Sweetie Munger, I don't think I've ever seen you before, but thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Marla, what's up, Marla? Power is magic. Why do we respect the dead more than the living? That's a good question. Maybe we'll cover that tonight. That sounds like it could be an interesting question. Probably because of might have a little something to do with rose-colored glasses in some cases, that's for sure. But let's see here. All right. Steroid Maximus, brother, thank you so much. Steroid says, take care, brother. Hope you feel better soon. I know you already said to me you might not be able to watch the whole show tonight, but tune in tomorrow if you can't make it through the whole thing. I hope everything's going better for you as well. Sounds like you've been doing good, so hopefully that continues. But thank you so much, man. Thank you for your continued support and everything else that you do for me. You know, I was going to have a sound effect ready tonight for people who might give me super chats, and I didn't get around to putting it together. I actually have it, but I don't think it'll play right. I bet you it's going to deafen you guys. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Hold on. I should have this up already. I apologize. I'm so ghetto tonight. Like, I'm just so, like, I'm so me. So, like, exactly who I am. Like, it's just so, like, oh, I'm just going to seat of the pants this stuff tonight. And, you know, that kind of thing. Let's see. Do I have it here? I might have it here. Yeah, I might not. Where is it? Where is it? See, I didn't set this up. I should have. This is like some of the things. There we go. I bet you. Let's see if it plays for you guys. Let me turn that down. All right. I'm not going to do that to you guys every time. But anyway, guys, thanks for showing up. So the topic of this video is going to be invoking your true intention. And what does that really mean? Well, it's a little bit of a paradox, because everything you are is already a product of your true intention. It's already being carried out. That's already happening. But the practice of doing magic really is about learning to harness that. It's learning to synergize with that. It's learning to be aware of that and not fight that. Now, a lot of people will come and say, well, Thorne, I know that my true intention is not being met because I'm sick and I'm miserable. I'm sorry, guys, for people are saying rest in peace, ears. I apologize so much. I shouldn't have done it. I apologize. I will not do that again. But that is sorry, Yavi. So people will say, I have this thing happen to me. Everything was good until someone hurt me. I was abused or had a car accident or whatever. So I know that's not my true intention, because why would my true intention allow me to suffer or have anything bad happen to me? Well, let's think about it. The simplest explanation is the one that's often done by others in other spiritual practices, Christianity, for example. You're being punished. Oof, I hate that. I fucking hate that when people say you're being punished. It's the worst. Like, to me, that's like such a cop-out. What are you being punished for? Like, what did you do that deserved the car accident that ruined your body? Oh, well, it must have been something you did in a past life. Blah, 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 blah. This, of course, is generally a flaw in human thinking. Somewhere along the line, we picked up this habit of thinking that we're being punished for things. And this is probably because how we're raised, right? Most people are raised with a parent that, or a guardian or somebody who, when you do wrong, they will come down on you and they will say, hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have, you know what? I'm going to punish you for that. You shouldn't have set the dog on fire. We're going to punish you for it, right? Well, they are unable, perhaps, to recognize that punishment is a really kind of dark way of putting what's going on. Punishment implies that you're broken, that you're inferior, that there's something wrong with you. And all religions, what they tend to do is they tend to throw at you this, you're broken, but only my religion can help you kind of bullshit. They'll tell you, oh, if you only become a Christian and say these rosaries and do this and that and refrain from sin, you can suddenly be whole and accepted by the Creator and be welcomed into his or her kingdom. That is a system of control. So what is really happening? Well, in the Orient, you have this idea of karma, and most people misunderstand karma in the West because we look at this through a Western lens, and I'm telling you right now because I know a lot of people from Asia, they misunderstand karma as well in a lot of cases, and there's a lot of interpretations of karma. Even I am not going to pretend that I have the textbook definition of karma properly because I'm not in that current, but I will tell you that karma was explained to me and I understand it more along the lines of something that you're doing. This is not justice. It is not a scale. It is not a balance. It is not a rule that says if you do something bad, a bad thing will happen to you. Karma is literally all about your intentions and about your delusions of what you are. When you don't recognize what you are, when you don't see yourself as the source and that you and I are one, you will act in a way that is selfish, and in so doing, you hurt yourself because that other person is an extension of what you are. So if you go around and you murder, rape, and steal, then you are, of course, murder, raping, and stealing from yourself. You're causing suffering, and that suffering, of course, like waves in an ocean, will rebound and eventually cause you to experience the same suffering in return. An analogy that I give it is a lot, and I've said this before on my streams, is a lot like, imagine there's a big boulder in front of you, and you run at it and you punch it. At any point between when you decide to punch it and you actually impact the boulder, you can change your mind and change the course of events. And if you punch that boulder with an intent to harm the boulder, chances are you're going to harm yourself in the process. Karma is not something that is unavoidable. It is rather more like a sense of causality. If you've already punched the boulder, you're going to experience the pain of the boulder, right? But if you're on your way to punching the boulder, you can stop that at any point. And a lot of us don't realize that even after we've done something maybe that we might regret, you can still withdraw that punch. You can still withdraw it and keep it from being worse. Because what often happens is, if you're a fool, you don't just punch it once. You get mad because it hurts your hand and you punch it again, or now you kick it, or now you do something else to it. You have to understand, your ego is this small little fragment, this little shard of what is. It's important, but it's insignificant all at the same time. And if it decides that it wants to punch the universe, well, the universe hits a lot harder, and it doesn't even have to hit you. It just sits there and takes it. So in a sense, that's a lot like what karma would be. So what's really going on then? If it's not a punishment, if it is a cause and effect, but it's not, if it is just a thing that happens, what does it mean when we don't get what we want? Well, the first thing we have to identify is that what we think we want is what we think our ego wants, is what our ego says it wants. And by ego, I don't mean the part of you that says, I'm awesome, not that ego. I'm talking about your personality ego. I'm not sure what you would call that in psychiatry, but I call it the ego. Your idea of yourself, your egregoric nature, the egregoric mask that you wear, the name that you wear, the story that you tell that explains yourself, the thoughts that run through your head. Your ego is a manifestation of your higher self. It is your higher self manifested in the material world through a physical body. But it forgets itself. It forgets that it's not the source. Or that it is the source, but it doesn't control the source. There's a funny saying about Christians going to church, sitting there all sitting quietly praying to God, telling God how to run the universe, as if God should listen to a bunch of sinful fools sitting in pews in the middle of a church. And that's his reason for doing anything. It's a very good metaphor for the ego. Your ego sits here saying, oh, I need money, I need sex, I need a better job, I need this, I need that, I need all of these worldly things, or I need to ascend, I need to be this, I need to be that. Your ego will put these ideas out and say, I need these things, I want these things. But your ego forgets that it is a tool of the higher self. It's like a hand, it's like a puppet, it's like a mask. And what it says is not really what is intended necessarily. It's a performance, if you will. It's a story. And so you'll sit there and say, well, I know that I am not performing magic correctly because what I speak does not happen and blah, 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 without recognizing that your higher self is always getting what it wants. Always. It never fails. And when you deny this fact, you're denying your true power. If you deny this fact, you deny the fact that you have the power to change everything. What right do you have to even think about practicing magic if you don't already think that your higher self can do so? So where people get tripped up is when they identify so fully with their ego. And by ego, I don't mean arrogance. I don't mean that they're full of themselves. I mean their identity, who they think they are. When you identify only with that story and you make a proclamation or a magic spell to do a thing, and that thing happens or doesn't happen, you will sit there and say, well, I failed. My magic failed. Why did you even attempt to do the ritual in the first place? What compelled you to do that? Where did the source of the idea come from? Where did the intention come from? You went out, you bought some candles, you got some incense, you thought about the process, you figured out a spirit to call or a method to perform your ritual, and you sat around or stood around your altar, and you went through with it, and you felt great, and you had a great experience, and when all is said and done, months, years go by, and nothing happens, nothing manifests. You go, well, I guess magic doesn't work, or I guess I did it wrong, or maybe the spell was wrong. Unless you understand that the reason you did all that is because your higher self wanted you to have that experience, and the spell you're doing is just a performance you're doing on top of what is already happening. And a lot of people don't like to hear this. A lot of people want magic to be a magic lever that they can pull a lever and they get what they want. They want magic to be a vending machine. And I've had fans become not fans overnight because I've stated that. So people want magic to be a vending machine. But even if it was a vending machine, the true magic has to start with you. You are the one who has to push the buttons. You're the one who has to put the dollar bill in, and you have to reach in and grab the candy that falls down. So there's so many layers upon which you can get hung up and not get your result. If you walk past a vending machine and you say to yourself, I want a piece of candy, but you keep walking, that's not unlike when you do a magic spell and it doesn't get you anything. It's not unlike that at all. Or maybe you walk past the vending machine and say, I want a piece of candy, but your mind says, you know what? We've been sitting here around COVID too long. We've been gaining weight. We put on 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever it is for you. You know what? I'm going to hold off on that candy bar for a day or two. Try to bring the excess down a little bit. What if you decide to have the candy? You go up to the vending machine, you push the button, but you didn't put the money in. Or you put the money in, you didn't push the button. Or what if you did all that, the candy fell down, and you said, change my mind, walk away. Now, absurd as that sounds, if you're too lazy to reach down and grab the candy, you don't get the candy. If you do a magic ritual for something and you're too lazy to do the mundane part that has to follow it to open up the avenues for success to happen, that's like having the candy bar drop and you don't do anything with it. So, when we are practicing magic, there's almost a reason why we call it practicing. It's a practice. It's a practice. I see it more like a medicinal thing. Like you do this when you feel like there is a blockage in your spiritual experience and you want to have a magic ritual experience to get you through. But I also see magic as a tool. The important word when describing magic is manifestation. Manifestation is just such a key word. It's really a key word. What does it mean to manifest our intent? What does manifestation really mean? Now I know the dictionary, definition of the word manifestation, but really what you're looking for is an experience, isn't it? You're not looking for an event or an object. You're looking for the experience of the event or the object. This bears repeating. Let's say it again. When you're working for manifestation, you're not looking for an event or an event or an object. You're looking for the experience of the event or object. Now that's important. That's really, really important. Good night, Carrie. I just saw you say goodbye. Just caught the corner of my eye there. You're looking for the experience of that outcome. And there's a lot of ways that you can experience something without actually having the event happen. There's a lot of ways that you can learn from something without actually going through it. Well, your higher intention, what your highest, truest intention is to experience something. So let's start there. Let's start with that first point. Whatever my magical intention is, it is based upon the desire for an experience of some kind. Not the material object, not the event itself. We desire the experience of those things. Now that seems kind of like a silly distinction, because you would think to yourself as a materialistic person, well, if I have this in my hand, if I have the ball in my hand, therefore, I have what I want and I'm experiencing what I want. But that is also assuming that the material is what is real. It's forgetting that reality is, at least in some fashion, illusory in nature. Oh, there's stuff there, there's energy there, there's hardness, there's things there that exist. But they're not things. They become things. You make them into things with your ideas. But before that, they're a random order of chaos. They're a Rorschach inkblot waiting for you to tell them what they are. Once again, there's hidden truth in the Bible when it says that Adam was tasked with naming all the animals. Because that is what an embodied being does, is it names its environment. And by giving it names, it gives it meaning and importance and an ability to interact with it. It gives it power over it. By calling this a piece of labradorite, I have decided what it is and I can make it do what I want. No, you're seeking an experience of the item, object, or event. And when you accept that, you can go on to the next level. What exactly is it that your higher self is trying to experience? What are you trying to experience? Are you trying to experience being rich? Maybe. Are you trying to experience being poor? Maybe. Are you trying to experience one moment? You're trying to experience a perfect moment, a perfect event, a perfect sequence of events. Are you trying to experience a lifelong dream? What is it that you're trying to experience as a higher self? Well, all of those little things I said are symptoms of the experience. You're not trying to experience being rich. That's not what you're trying to experience. You're trying to experience something that richness gives you. You're trying to experience something that richness, if we were to pare it down to its fundamental concepts, what does richness give you? What kind of experience does richness give? If you say freedom, if you say power, that's great, but you're ignoring the shadow, completely ignoring the shadow. Richness will also give you a big-ass headache. It'll give you a lot of responsibility. It'll make a whole lot of people think you're a rich asshole and they won't like you anymore. Did you know that? Now, I'm not rich by any stretch, but the moment I became a professional sorcerer, I had a whole bunch of holier-than-thou people come to me and say, oh, you're making money on your spirituality. That means you're not what we thought. Because there's money involved, somehow I'm impure and I'm a bad guy. We're talking about Satanists over here, all right? Not just Satanists, but of all people. You're saying that to me? And I'm not saying that like it's bothering me. That's the only thing. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. People will see you succeed and they will immediately have a beef with you. What are you trying to experience with richness? Sam says, financial security. Okay. But there's a dark side to that financial security, isn't there? That financial security can create complacency. It can create mundanity and richness. See, what you might not realize is, let's say you live in America right now, and you're, we'll say, lower class, something like that. You rent a home, you have a 9-to-5 job, or you're a wage slave, you push a broom, whatever it is you do, and you make minimum wage, but you make ends meet, you're okay. And you're miserable, you're working your ass off. But you still got a big-ass TV. You still probably got your own car, or at least the ability to get around. You probably eat regularly. You probably have all kinds of things that people on the other side of the world don't have. But they may work much harder than you. So you actually have financial security in a way that other people don't. But that's not enough, is it? No. You're complacent. You're bored with the security that you have. You want more security. It's always more, more, more. So no, we're not looking for... Richness does not bring us. That's a symptom experience. That's just... Remember, we're thinking of it like a branch. So imagine again, experience is the source. Okay? Wanting an experience is the source. Why do we want... what kind of experience do we want and why? And we can branch down and this will get finer and finer. It'll get narrower and narrower in focus as we go. So why do you want to experience richness? You're going to answer that question, as most of you have been doing here so far, has been your ego answering that question. I want financial stability. I want to be able to buy what I want. I want power. I want influence. That's all things your ego is going to want because it's part of the story of what you are. That's part of the story. That's a clue. That's a clue. Think about that. Everything that you want, that your ego says it wants, is part of a story it wants to experience. So let's take this one more layer down. So what you want out of richness is the story of all of the possibilities of richness. You want to experience something that fulfills the story of your experience fully. You want to have a story that, if this was like a video game or something, you'd be done with it, you'd turn it off and go, holy crap, that was one hell of a rush. And sometimes that means you're going to fail big time, right? You got to have to, if it's a video game, you got to have challenges. You can't really enjoy a video game without some challenge, right? But let's not carry the analogy too far. Let's look at this from the perspective. We were just talking about the as above. Let's talk about the so below. You as an ego are not separate from that initial source desire, from that initial source intention. You are an extension of that. You are the avatar of that desire, of that divinity. And your ego's actions carry you, one way or the other, towards experience, towards writing a story, telling yourself a story that is crafted out of memories, as someone said in the comments. I didn't get a chance to catch the name. Roberto, wise comment. The experiences build into memories, and memories help shape attitudes or something. They help shape the ego. Very, very, very intuitive answer, Roberto. Thank you. They build memories, and that is what ego is built out of. If you were to hit a reset in your head and lose all memories, that's death, is it not? Isn't the loss of identity death more than anything else? Isn't that the part that we want to continue on more than anything else when we talk about life after death? Isn't that what we're scared of losing? Is that ego identity? We want that story to go on forever. Okay. Maybe we found another clue. We don't want things to stay the same, do we? We want them to change. We fear things being the same. In fact, our ego wants things to be the same. We want to be who we are forever. We don't want to admit to ourselves, however, that to be who we are, it has to be a constant change, doesn't it? In order for you to exist, you have to constantly be changing. Otherwise, it stops. It's gone. It's over. So the ego doesn't want to admit it, but it needs the story to continue and new events to happen to change the ego all the time. The ego wants to be modified. And sooner or later, some of those details are going to get lost. They're going to return to the chaos from which they came. Little D.H. Thorne died a long time ago. I don't think anything like him anymore. New DH is here. And this DH is completely different from the one a year ago in a lot of ways. So, he died as well. So I'm not really seeking permanence. I'm not seeking anything like that. I'm seeking experience. I'm seeking fulfillment. I'm seeking a story that has something to tell. I'm seeking to ascend. I'm seeking to what I think of as improvement. What is ascension to us? We look at the universe and we say humanity is inferior. Of course, we're the most superior being on this planet, at least intellectually speaking, but we feel like we could be better. I want to improve. I want to be a better version of what I am. I want to have more powers. I want to have more this, more that. I want to be able to use them wisely. I always find that amusing because a being that is not wise, how does it know what wisdom would look like? How does it know it's not already wise? It's kind of like a paradox, isn't it? How do you know an idea is a good idea? When you hear me talking, you say, D.H. Thorne's right, I agree with what he's saying. Why? Where's that coming from? What's making that decision in the back of your mind? When you're thinking and you're thinking of an idea, what makes you think that idea is worth thinking? Why are you paying attention to that thought? Why does that thought have any meaning or importance to you at all whatsoever? That's right, Sam. Humans do want more. Take, take, take. And I challenge you to find any being or thing in the universe that doesn't have the same potential. Your dog will take, take, take. Your cat will take, take, take. The ants will take, take, take. The air take, take, takes. Everything take, take, takes, doesn't it? Everything wants to continue in its own pattern. Everything wants to be. Every action, everything that's in motion tends to want to stay in motion, doesn't it? Humans want to take, take, take because everything take, take, takes. We're being taken from every moment of every day. Something's sucking something out of us. And that's how it should be. It's an exchange going on. No, humanity has decided that itself is evil. It's kind of got a flaw in its own mind where it thinks no other animal in this world sits there and says, I'm a piece of crap for being what I am. Only humans do that. Only humans, as far as we can tell anyway, sit around moping about how we're greedy and we are flawed and we're not humble and oh, look at what we're doing to the planet. Meanwhile, every single animal on this planet would do the same thing you do if it had the chance. And don't you dare think that's not true. Every single animal that's transplanted to another continent in this world becomes an invasive species and does exactly what humans do. Without any exception, unless there's a predator in the environment that somehow is just good enough to beat them. You can transplant a moth that is like a couple polka dots different on its wings compared to one that's already there. Transplant that to another continent where it's almost the exact same moth, just a little different, and the new moth will prosper and take over. 2 or 3 dots different. Nothing else is different. Just a little pattern change. Humans are not evil. We're not bad and we're not wrong. Take, take, take is exactly what we are meant to be. Because everything is meant to take, take, take. So what does that mean for our experiences, for manifestation, for our true intention? Our truest intention is to continue to experience something worth experiencing. And if we try to define it too much more than that, we get into trouble. Because then it is no longer a general statement. So then we have to ask ourselves, what is our truest intention for our story? Why is your ego so obsessed with certain things that it wants? This is why meditation is so useful. When you can blank out your mind a little bit, when you can quiet your mind, let your thoughts go away, and just be, just breathe, just experience reality without the left brain going blah, 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 without all that subvocalization and visualization. Shut all that off. And if you don't know how, I offer some things soon that will help you. My book talks about it. There's YouTube videos everywhere for how to do meditation where you blank your mind. It's not some secret. It's probably the most talked about meditative art if you just look for it. When you clear your mind and you don't have chatter going on, and you experience reality without the story going on, you're not going to be whisked away into la la land. You're not going to suddenly imagine the universe fully formed in your mind. You're not going to become aware of everybody else's thoughts, but you are going to be in tune and in touch with your true self at that point. The jester that sits upon the throne of ego that is placed in the center of your heart chakra will get up and leave for a little while and shut up. And your true higher self will retain the throne for a moment, and it will look through the keyhole of your experience and say, this is pretty cool. This is why people who practice this kind of meditation, when successful, can generally endure a lot of things other people wouldn't normally. The only thing that would make them stop would be a decision, not fear, not pain. It is simply a decision. I don't want to be killed, so therefore I am going to resist being killed. However, I'm not going to suffer the experience if it happens. It's just going to happen. The higher self wants you to experience a story worth telling. So what does that mean? That means you are going to ride bicycles, and you're going to be really having a great time, and you're going to be riding down the street on a sunny day. Your little 7-year-old self, ding, 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 look at my bike. I got a banana seat and everything and a basket, and ding, 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 look how cool I am. Except in your haste to put that bike together, maybe you forgot to tighten one of the bolts somewhere, and your little steering apparatus gets loose, and you try to compensate, and you lose control, and you tumble, and you break your jaw or something. Oh, damn you, bike. Damn you, universe. No. It's like sweet and sour. It's like bondage or something. People get off on getting spanked. The universe, you, your higher self, knows that in order to enjoy that beautiful sunny day with the birds singing in your first bike ride, you also have to experience that first crash. You also have to experience not riding the bike. You also have to experience poverty in order to truly experience wealth. So you, as someone who thinks they're impoverished, says, I want to have riches, I want to have wealth. The experience you're looking for is not riches and wealth, is it? It's the change. It's the transition. There's a lot of rich and wealthy people who slum it, you know. They go out, no money in their pocket. They live a very simple life for a while. A lot of monks do that, right? They go up to the mountaintop somewhere and they eat gruel and they dress in burlap robes and, you know, they limit their experiences to the most subtle things. They find pleasure in the small things because it's kind of like someone who eats rich foods all the time. If you eat nothing but really, really flavorful foods, they become addicting, but they become bland. You know, like I should know. I'm overweight. What does every overweight person say when you hand them celery? Like, oh, that doesn't taste good. Meanwhile, there's someone you hand them celery, they go, oh, I love celery. Because they don't eat the junk. They're not eating candy all the time and cheeseburgers and all that. Hand them a stick of celery, like, oh, I love celery. Yeah, sure, give me that. So what are you looking for? Now, you notice I'm not trying to tell you what you should be looking for. I'm not saying that monk is right. And I'm not saying that the rich person's right. And I'm not saying the poor person's right. I'm not saying any of that's right. What I'm telling you to do is if you want to find your true intention, you have to pull back the curtain a little bit. Stop thinking about what your ego wants and deduce backwards. Refine down each one of these ideas that you have, that you want to experience. And try to find the core intention behind it. When you can find that, then you can do a ritual and empower that intention, and then you are aligning yourself with that intention through magic and through mundane action. When you do that, you are actually acting within, what's a good poetic way to put it? You're acting within, you're being controlled by the hands of fate, and nothing can stop you. You're invincible. You are quite literally invincible. When you are aligned with your truest intent, nothing can stop you. Your ego may not like always what that is. Your ego may not like the fact that you might have to be poor for a little while in order to find a better life and another experience. But your true self knows. You have to be homeless for this many months so that you can get the help that you need in order to buy the home that you want in the countryside that you deserve to live in. That's one story. Another story might be you need to be rich and stuck up and you need to die alone in order for you to one day appreciate what you have, perhaps in another life or perhaps in the dream after. So don't see magic as a way to cheat the higher intention of self. Don't see magic as a way to cheat the rules that you yourself made when you made yourself. The right-hand path would tell you that you are suffering because you're flawed and broken. What you really want then, if you're on the right-hand path, is redemption. You want to experience that redemption event. You want to have that moment where, I'm such a pitiful sinner, oh Lord, save me. And then you have the feeling of God coming down and forgiving you. Oh! As a former Christian, I can tell you that's an awesome feeling, by the way. This is why they often say in Christian circles that that initial touch of God, that loving touch of God, that's why you get insatiable for it, because you want to experience that redemption over and over again. You want to keep experiencing that forgiveness, and so we keep sinning. Right? Think about it. The left-hand path is a little different, of course. The left-hand path either wants to be that source, that God, or recognize that it is already that. I'm in that latter category. Some people are in the former. Some people want their ego to become godlike. I already understand that my ego is a mask for a God. And so I ride it, and I enjoy it. I allow it to be that way, and I allow myself to fall down a flight of stairs and hurt myself. I allow myself to have migraines, if that makes sense. I don't go, well, I guess I'm not a divinity because I had a migraine. I guess that just must mean I'm little old D.H. Thorne. No, I go, D.H. Thorne is the story, and he had a migraine, and that migraine was put there by my higher self so that maybe I take a little bit slow today, so that I appreciate feeling better later. And that's just one possibility. That's just one possibility. So finding your truest intention will make you invincible in magic. And it's unfortunately the part where most of us fail, including myself. Sometimes I brag and say 80, 90% success rate in magic. I will tell you every single ritual that I dedicated myself to doing has succeeded. Every single one. The lesser rituals, not so much. If I sit here and meditate and ask a spirit for something, I don't expect a result necessarily because I don't always get it. That's more like just, sometimes I feel like I'm being lazy, right? And then I recognize that I'm doing that because I'm kind of compensating. That's something I should be doing. I'm being lazy. And then when the spirits don't respond, I don't blame them. I don't say, hey, you didn't give me what I wanted. And I don't say, oh, my magic failed. They go, no, I know why that failed. But by the same token, I lead a charmed life, and I can predict when I get what I want. I know that it'll never be too hard for me to get by. I know that I'll always make enough to survive. So yeah. So let's shift off of that a little bit. As Yepson says, I really like this migrained up Thorne. Just speaks to how it is through the pain. Yeah, let me get a hammer. Somebody hit me in the hip. The reality is really like this. Actually, that's not far off from what some practices do. Look up whirling dervishes and what they put themselves through so they can have a moment of true ecstasy and gnosis. Not unlike that at all. All right, let me go to the comments, and people have just been chatting away. Just so you guys know, I try to respond to every comment and every question that I can read, but it really helps for me to notice it as a question when it's in all caps. If you don't put it in all caps, I'm not as likely to respond to it. And of course, a super chat is 100% guaranteed for me to find it and comment on it. Hint, hint, but that's not necessary. Let's see. Power is magic, magic. Just filling up my DMs with questions and comments, brother. Thank you. Let me see what's going on here. See if there's one I want to answer. Oof. A lot of these questions could be just like days of videos by themselves. All right, let me go back to Steroid Maximus and read down, guys. Just give me a minute to see if there's anything here I want to respond to. Sorry about the silence. I should have like music playing. I should play like the Jeopardy theme song, like do 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 do, like when I'm reading these things. Oof, I missed so many comments, guys. I do apologize. Yeah, let's do this. Anybody who asked a question that I didn't answer that you really, really want, power is magic, magic. I limit you to one question, brother. One question. Pick something and put it in bold, and I will see if it appeals to me. So if I didn't answer your question and you ask, please retype it in bold, and I will respond. Or you know, you can hit that button there. Let's see, just so I can pick it out because there's a lot of conversations. It's hard to read through real quick. Let me, I got a quick message here. Hold on. All right, cool. Everyone's so busy talking. I don't know if everybody knows. Let me see here. There we go, Caroline. What if what I truly want is not meant to be here? Then it's not truly, well, then what you truly want is the experience of not having. You want that longing. You're still confused with what your ego wants. That's my opinion on it. If what you truly, truly want is a thing that is impossible, then that's not what you truly, truly want. You're not looking for, if you recall from the beginning, I don't know if you watched the beginning of this, you might not have. In the beginning I said you're not really seeking an object or an event, you're seeking an experience. Perhaps the experience of that object or event, but you're seeking an experience. So if you're not able to have that thing, you need to go deeper and ask yourself, what is it exactly? If you're not, remember, you are an all-powerful being already. Your delusion is that you are this Caroline person. The true nature of what you are is a higher being it is having exactly what it wants to have. So why does it want something that it can't have? There's something in that experience it wants you to learn from. As an ego, it wants the story to learn. It wants that story to have that experience. Just like that train wanted to go by and interrupt my audio. It's like shaking my house. That's a good one. Must be full of people. Because people are finally going back to work. You're seeking an experience. And that experience may be the opposite of what you think you want. And that is the hardest thing. This is why I hate the New Age movement. This is why I hate so much of the right-hand path, is because it's always blowing smoke up your ass about how you're supposed to get what you want. When reality is, you're supposed to experience the coolest story possible, the best story possible, and that means you might not get what you want. Okay. Sam A asks, question, what if I do spells and they work but eventually backfire, not on purpose, or at least consciously? Do spell, get money, then say, do spell, get money. That should be like a magical rap song. Then something breaks and ends up taking the money from the ritual that I just earned. Again, let's take a step back. Was it really the money that your higher self wanted you to have? Or was it the experience of magic worked, I got my money, and then I fucked up, or something happened and it got taken away? That's a much cooler story, isn't it? Like, do you watch The Twilight Zone because everybody wins? Let's be honest. Do you watch The Twilight Zone because everybody in that show walks away scot-free without a scar? Do you watch a horror movie because everybody wins? You watch a horror movie because it's terrifying. You watch a Twilight Zone because it's ironic. You read fiction because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. It's more fun that way. So that doesn't mean your magic didn't work. It did work. You got exactly what you wanted, and you experienced that moment of having. But then your higher self said, okay, cool, we had that experience. How can we make this more interesting now? Caroline says, no, I know it's possible, just not now because I'm incarcerated. I just don't want to be here. I don't identify with anything. That is an experience that you need to have. I'm not saying that I don't sympathize. It sounds very callous when a monk or a Zen person or a Satanist tells you you're experiencing what you want to experience then. Because you don't want to hear that. You want to hear how you can fix it. And I'm not saying you can't fix it. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying if you're not having that experience of it being possible, there must be a reason for it. And it's not because your magic is failing. It's because you are not truly invoking your higher intentions. Your higher intention is for you to be where you are right now, experiencing this blockage, this problem. Why? I don't know. I don't know you at all. Maybe if I talk to you in private, I could read you and say, okay, this is what's going on. You need to learn this lesson. This is why. That's what seers do. That's what mages do. That's why we have this gift. That's why we're here, at least on that individual level. Throughout antiquity, people who did this stuff were not there. You know, there's not a lot of history books filled with sorcerers that change the outcomes of countries. But there's a lot of history about sorcerers and sages and mages and shamans helping people get through their own questions. That's what fills the history books. Look it up anywhere. You'll find every tribe had a village elder or a shaman or whatever they called it, whatever the proper term is. Some people, lately I saw this thing in anthropology, shaman's like a wrong word. So I don't know why. Maybe I'll try to stop using it. I'll have to read about it. I'm too busy to like worry about pedantics in that way, but yeah. All right, let's see. Evan Cohn asks, what about wanting to be unstuck and experiencing something else? Well, this is also the beauty of what I'm talking about. Remember, nothing is forever except impermanence. What that means is, when you're attached to something, the universe has a way of ripping it out of your hands. There's an old Zen saying, let go or be dragged. Because things are constantly changing and moving. If you're stuck in something and want to be unstuck, you have to know that sooner or later you will be unstuck. It might not be in the way that you're asking for. My friend Andreas, the kid who passed away that I talk about in Shadownomicon, he used to say to me all the time, I don't know where he got this from, this too shall pass. Whenever I was going through something, and I was always going through something back then. I was like a drama queen back then. Thorne, this will pass. This too shall pass. Impermanence is it's almost like incarnating into this biological frame of humanity is like non-attachment 101, like a college course. That's what your experience of this reality is. Your experience of this reality is non-attachment 101. And that has so many deep lessons in it. You'll find out that it's only when you start to let go of attachments that you start to actually have power, ironically. But if you do it for the purpose of having that power or to be non-attached, you will never achieve it. That's why it's a paradox. Same thing with enlightenment. If you seek enlightenment, you will never have it. Never. The longer you seek, the harder you seek enlightenment, you will never achieve it. It will never happen. Of course, the master might tell you that it's like this. You have this ball in your hand. The longer you seek to pick it up, the more you try to pick it up, the more you don't have it. The ball's already in your hand. How can you pick up something that's already there? What you have to do is remove the delusion in your mind that says you're not already holding the ball in your hand. So I don't have an easy answer for you. For either of you, Evan or Caroline, I don't have an easy answer for you. I don't have a solution. And I'm a guy, right? Guys are always all about those solutions. You know, like a lot of girls will say, you know, like my wife or somebody, they'll say, I just want to talk to you about what's going on. And what is the first thing most men do? Well, this is how you fix it. Let me get my screwdriver, right? We're fix-its. We're fixers. And I'm here to tell you as a man that my solution is to let you know that there's not always a solution. That doesn't mean you won't get it. I'm not saying you're not going to get what you want. I'm not saying that you will never have it. I'm saying really let go a little bit. And the thing is about letting go is you don't have to let go of your efforts to change things. You have to let go of your attachments to the change. So this is why I tell people in magic, if you have an intention to do something, you need to do the ritual and then become detached from the outcome. You need to lay all of the energy on the altar or whatever your methods are, invoke the spirits that you need, push every ounce of your will and intention. These are your attachments, by the way. In a way, you're sacrificing your attachment. The energy of that attachment is what is released into the world. And if it's meant to be, it will happen. See, it's a lot easier if I say if it's meant to be, right? A lot of people, this is why you hear like, oh, if you love somebody, set them free. If it's meant to be, they'll come back. Same thing applies to magic. If your truest intention, if it's meant to be, and you put your attachments on the altar, this is why Christians, once again, I'm going to start doing this more because I think it triggers people and I like that. We don't realize how much of our practices are shared by Christians and all these other right-hand path traditions. What do Christians do? They say, give it up to God. They say, put it on the altar, let it go. Let God have it. Let God fix it. Let God worry about it. You just love your life and love God. I'm telling you basically the same thing, except not in the right-hand path perspective. I'm telling you to trust your higher self. Trust what you are already. That's all I'm telling you. Because the more you struggle and beat yourself against the wall of attachment, the more beat up you're going to be, the more you punch that boulder, as I said in the beginning about karma, the more you're going to break your hand. You can't swim by grabbing the water. You got to let go and surf or swim. All right, let's move a little bit. Oh, you said incarnated. Sorry, Caroline. It's really small, and I think my dyslexic kind of popped up right there. I'm really sorry about misreading that. Please, everyone, Caroline is not incarcerated. She is innocent. She did not do it. I really apologize. That sucks. Forgive me for that, please. What's up, Lolan? A lot of magic chat tonight, you're right. Ooh, Roberto, with that incarnation is a form of incarceration. I don't see it that way, but I get why people do. I really do. Oh, my music over here stopped. My inspiration. If you're wondering why I sound so in a mood, it's because I'm listening to music while I do this. Let's see if I can change my mood by changing my music. Let's see. I should listen to some cryo chamber, but then I'll be like, ooh, and I'll get all like mopey. Not mopey, but like dark. You probably guys would like that, but then I get kind of quiet. I'm more reflective when I listen to that. And we've already been going for about an hour. So tonight I'm going to keep a little bit on the short side because I got some other stuff I want to do. But I do have a video coming out tomorrow or Saturday. It is ready, but I don't like putting things back to back, especially long stuff. This next video that I'm putting up is going to be probably, I think I timed it around 45 minutes or something like that. So it's a long video, and I don't want to put it right on the heels of a long stream. So I'll put it out probably Friday or Saturday. Because I got to talking, and I'm like, I like this video. And I didn't really feel like doing it over again for a live stream, so I figure I'll just put it out as a long video. I'm sure you guys will like it. Those of you who like, some of you have said, I like your longer videos, Thorne. Do more of those. So I'll mix and match. You know me. I do a little bit of everything. Oh, here we go. Star Wars Sith theme extended. Yes, that will do. That'll do, donkey. Nice. Perfect. All right. All right, guys. So any more big questions, just put it in all caps. Lawrence Espinoza asked, what if our higher self is the ego of another god, another iteration of ourselves? Yes, I see that point. And that is a valid question because in the art of theurgy, there is this idea that there is the source and that all of these things are emanations of the source, and that is what we are. And that they trickle down, they filter down. That we, in our identified ego as D.H. Thorne, could be an emanation of yet another ego. Totally possible, totally plausible, and totally logical, because you have to understand we do this every day in our lives as well. We do this with each other. I treat you guys differently than I do my dog. I treat my dog differently than I do my mom. I treat my mom differently than I do, the tax guy. We all have a face and an ego and a story and an iteration that we share. And they're all extensions of one higher thing. So I'm not going to argue that. I'm going to say that that is a very valid, perhaps, way of asking. But I would also caution you to refrain from trying to define things too much. The more we define things, the more neti kicks in. It's not this, not that. We can't really define truth like that. We can't define source like that. But we can say that one of the ways source manifests is that way. The little Russian nesting doll of infinite egos. So to say that your higher self must only be an ego of a higher thing, while probably likely, that doesn't mean that's how it is. Because you have to recognize it is possible to awaken to your source consciousness, even if only for a moment, have the experience of true self. It's entirely possible to do that. It's not mumbo jumbo, and it's not the end of the journey. It's actually the beginning. When you first have that moment of, oh, D.H. Thorne is just a name. And you don't experience that just as a thought, but as a feeling, as a knowing, as an experience. D.H. Thorne is just the name, and I'm really all of this that's going around. Everything that I see is me. I'm doing all of it. When you have that experience, you don't really come back. Not the same way. Your perspective has changed forever. But that doesn't mean you suddenly have knowledge of how all of it works, how all of it manifests. It's kind of like, let's say you have like an accident, right? And you fall down a flight of stairs and you break something. Well, for a few seconds, you might not know you broke anything because of the way your body works. For whatever reason, you don't experience that pain right away. And then all of a sudden, you have the dawning awareness, oh shit, I broke my leg. Does that mean you know how you broke it exactly? Does that mean you know exactly which step you broke it on? Does that mean that you know exactly which bones are broken in exactly what way? No. Enlightenment is like this a little bit. Becoming aware of your higher self. And I'm not saying that's what enlightenment is, but becoming aware of that higher self doesn't mean you suddenly understand how everything works. It just changes your perspective a little bit so that you can infer and you begin to learn better. And some people's answer to that experience is to let go of asking why. This would be like the Zen path where we go, okay, we've achieved this self-awareness of higher non-dual self. We are not going to try to figure all this little worldly stuff out because we recognize that this is an illusion and we want to know only the truth. And in that way, a lot of the Zen Roshis and stuff are just continuing the game because they still believe that there is a better way. Not saying all of them, some get it, but a lot of them. This is why religions suck. It becomes a religion of you're broken because you're not enlightened, and so you got to sit and stare at a wall all day so that you can experience reality as it truly is. Okay. That was never the point, but okay. When you do experience that truth, you don't suddenly know everything. You just don't. I act like it because, well, you know, it's just how I am. But I'm the first to tell you, I don't know how all of this works. I have ideas, I have observations, and I speak about them. And the beauty of what I do is that if it resonates for you, you use it, and if it doesn't, there's absolutely no shame in my mind if you don't. I'm going to refresh this here because I think something stopped working. Let me just make sure. So if I lost you guys, all right, cool, everything's working again. So just to let you guys know, if I missed any live chats or anything, I don't think I did. I'm looking through here. I don't see anything. I had to refresh this because it wasn't updating. I now see a whole bunch of messages that I missed. So I do apologize if I missed anything important. Someone I trust, seeking servant, if you don't mind. Beyond Steroid Maximus, if you were there for it, or anybody else I trust, Tara, anybody who I know that I know. If you see anybody besides Steroid Maximus' super chat, just let me know and copy paste what they said, and I'll get to it because I lost that. I don't know where it all went. I only saw one though, just so you know. All right, let's see. Hi, Tara. I'm glad you've been listening the whole time. All right. Yeah, I don't see anybody. I don't see nobody's saying that I missed anything, so that's cool. So I think we're going to be. I'm gonna say let's give the last warning bell. Let's say we got. I'll give it 5 or 10 more minutes if you guys have any more pressing questions that you think would be a good answer. Okay, thank you, Amanda. Yeah, I thought that's what I said. And I'm looking, it says I only got the one, so I think we're good. All right, I'm all caught up then. So if you guys have any... okay, thank you, Tara. It probably isn't showing up because they do fade. Ooh, good question, Gabriel. All right, we'll make this the last question, I think. Any spirits that have helped you personally with artistic and aesthetic work? Good question. As someone who likes to do artwork, some of you who follow me on Facebook may have noticed I posted 2 paintings I recently did because I got inspired for a little while. I'll probably do some more soon because I do like working with my new pen tablet that I got. I used to be an artist by profession for a little while. When I say it was kind of like I was always an amateur, and I got kind of discovered by a local friend of mine who was always into art, and he brought me with him into the city where we joined with a couple of companies designing websites in the early 2000s, like 99, 2000 era. And so I became a professional like overnight, and I started studying all these things on my own, learning how to be an artist, doing web design, graphic design, and I made some big dumb mistakes, both financially and artistically and all this other stuff. But I found out that being that kind of an artist wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life, because it's kind of a crappy environment, I think, in some ways. You have people telling you how to be creative, and people who don't know anything about art telling you that you're wrong for not making what they wanted that you know just violates your artistic visions of what is maybe a good choice or not, you know. No, it has to be that way because reasons, you know. But you know that that's not good composition or whatever. So it's a frustrating industry to be in. People feel like when they pay you that they have a right to control everything about what you do as an artist. It's like, if you're hiring me to be an artist, that means you're hiring me to produce art for you, not for you to be an artist and use my hands. I had an argument with a customer like that once, and that was like the last one I ever did, because I was like, you know, fuck this. They got really mad about that. They're like, well, no, I'm paying you all this money. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're not paying me that much, but you're paying me this money for my vision and ability. You tell me what you're trying to express, and I make that happen as best I can. If you don't like it, we're good. Well, anyway, if you want to have spiritual help with art, there's always King Paimon, who is either himself, I found him to be he's much a lover of the arts. Particularly, he likes certain kinds of art. He seems to be more about entertaining arts, but certainly any kind of art. There are many other spirits. You have Malphas, who's into artisanship, which is a little different. And I see, yep, Tara just said it, Malphas is great regarding that stuff. Malphas is really good for artisanship. This is usually for people who are craftspeople. A good friend of mine, and I have a video loaded up, and I'm going to be editing it, and I'm going to be releasing it soon. A good friend of mine, Elena Lemmy. I am probably saying her name wrong because I've never actually had to say her name. I've only read it a couple dozen times on Facebook. This sweetheart made me the most incredible altar top I could have ever asked for. And I'm going to be promoting her a lot in the coming days. I'm going to talk to her again. I think when she moves, she can't really put out a lot more new work, but she does have work up right now on Etsy. Produces incredible stuff. She is an artisan extraordinaire when it comes to her resin work, and I absolutely cannot wait to see more come out of her. So specifically talking about art, though, art is a little different than artisanship. You know, there's artists and there's artisans. Artisans generally do piecework, and they do work that is usually pattern-oriented. You know, we're talking about someone who makes necklaces, they design and build houses, molding, architecture, masonry, all kinds of cool stuff. That's an artisan. That's more of a Malphas thing. What I found helping me, and this was unrelated to art, like in other words, I wouldn't necessarily go to the spirit all the time for this. King Person recently is who came to me. And I was working with him, trying to get to understand him, because for some reason, my ability to visualize him and understand him in a unique way is a little bit different. And I'm not able to fully invest my third eye into seeing what I feel like I need to be able to see with him. But he comes to me very strong nonetheless, and he guides me. And I was asking him to help me with things, and he did. I suddenly got all these ideas for ways to improve what I was doing financially, and some ways to, like the next day after I did the working with him, I found out I was able to get certain benefits I didn't know I was able to get. So I clicked those on, and I'm doing even better, and it's looking really good for me. But then he also suddenly inspired me, because King Person is all about hidden treasures, right? Well, hidden treasures doesn't just imply, like, you know, a box in the sand with money in it. It implies talents too, things you didn't know about yourself, or hidden things in your world that would have value to you as an individual. So what he did was he reinvigorated and showed me again that I have a talent for art that I've been neglecting. So could he be helpful for you? Possibly. But I would certainly work with King Paimon above all, if you're not sure. You know, I work mostly with the Goetta King, so I don't know. There might be one of the others might be better suited directly to art, but King Paimon is a spirit with a lot of pull, a lot of spiritual pull. There's a lot of other spirits that come to him, and he can direct them for you. So if your interest is in artwork, talk to King Paimon and see how he can show you perhaps a spirit that will help you directly, or he will just do it. One of his minions, perhaps, would be the one who would help you. But as a spirit, he's into the arts of all kinds. It is like his MO. He loves helping artists and musicians a lot, and I found that, and a lot of other people have found it too. Okay, Yepson says, feel better, get some food and feed Shelly with that $666 amount. Yeah, you know I gotta like buy you something now, brother. That's like a friend of mine. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And if you're on tonight, I'll see you. We'll feed Shelly together. We're playing a game together, so we occasionally play together. Would you recommend, how would you, ooh, yeah, that's a good question. Jacob Dow asks, how would you recommend becoming an author, specifically occult-related books? I would really like to get a project published in the near future. For me, my suggestion, make it a project that you do hand in hand with the spirit and give it to the spirit as a reward. Say to that spirit, I'm writing this book for you. And if you approve of it, if you want it to succeed and spread your name of your gift to me, then you'll make it prosper. That's how I got Become the Maelstrom and Shadownomicon. That was the ritual that I did for several spirits, and they're all listed in the dedication. And I highlight them in the book with rituals and things you can do with them. And they rewarded me greatly. This is what I call a synergistic pact. Make the thing that you're asking for something they want too. And that's going to be, I'm not going to say, fail safe, but I am going to say they blow up when they work. They really blow up, and you will have better success. Obviously, you need to have the talent to write. You need to have something worth writing about. But I think everybody has one good book in them. I've heard that saying. I think it's true. I think everybody has the potential for one good one in them. All right, let's see. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just start writing. If you don't feel like you're flowing, put it down. Only write when you got the flow, if you know what I mean. If you're a writer, you know what the flow feels like. When you're in that zone, pages just shoot out of your fingertips. You just can't stop it. It just happens. But definitely dedicate it to a spirit. And it's more than a dedication. Make it a mutual benefit. If this book succeeds, you succeed. Star Ruby Corsi asks or says, I'm new to your channel, and I think you're absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. I don't think I'm wonderful, but that's not a humble thing. I think we're all divinity, and I recognize that in you, and I thank you so much for that gift and your support, and it means a lot to me. Things like that mean that I can continue doing stuff like this and just focus on this and educate myself so that I'm giving you better answers when you guys give me questions, because sometimes I end up answering a question and I have to go back and I have to go, was that technically right? Did I say that right? And I have to watch my video again, and then I feel like, oops, I said like 3 words I didn't like in there. Thank you so much, Star Ruby. I appreciate it. And because of you guys, I'm succeeded. This is part of a pact that I did as well. Let me be a little transparent for you guys. When I wrote the book, I didn't just say I want to have a book that makes me money. No, I didn't do that. What I said is I want to write a book of magic, and I want to be recognized and remembered as one of the great occult minds. Now, will I be up there with like a Crowley or something like that? Probably not. Maybe I will. Will I be up there with like an E.A. Quetting, how he's doing? Maybe, maybe not. I do find it interesting that he and I are becoming good friends, and we're having such great success. But I have to tell you, everything that I've done with this channel, with my books, with my online presence, it's not about making money. Although that's the good part, it's like the icing on the cake where I go, I don't have to like make minimum wage anymore. I can actually have a career now. This is my career because I am passionate and love everything about what I'm doing. Every facet, every feature of what I'm doing. I am living that dream right now. And in some ways I feel guilty because I feel like I'm being paid to play. And I have to be honest with you about that. Every moment that I'm doing this, my wife is working the same job I had last year. And she's working 50, 60 hours a week, and she comes home dog-tired. Her feet are practically broken. They lost so many people this year. And I'm like, I would have been there. And she comes home, and I'm sitting on a consult with a client, or I'm writing, or I'm preparing something, or I'm doing a video, or something like that. That's just, I feel lazy. I feel like I'm sitting here playing a video game. She comes in exhausted. And I'm doing well enough now where I don't have to be in that 9 to 5 grind. That makes me feel not guilty, like really guilty, but I feel a little guilty, right? I feel like, I love you, honey. I wish that you could be here. And I wish that all of you can find that same thing. Maybe I'll do a video about that in the future, or maybe I'll do a live stream about it. Because that's really that experience that we're talking about, isn't it? That's really part of that higher intention. My higher intention was for me to have this experience that I'm having right now. Maybe it will also be for me to fail. Wouldn't that be something? Maybe my experience that's meant to happen is to reach a point and then I say something wrong, I do something controversial, I get sick, and I have to stop. That'd be a hell of a story, wouldn't it? If that's the case, I look forward to it. Hopefully. I won't say that when it happens, though. You'll probably see me crying on camera. But hopefully, it's exactly the experience that I want to have. So I really appreciate that, guys. All right, we got a couple. I'm going to make these the last. Whatever's on the screen right now is the last two. It's the last two I'm going to answer because I got to get going. You guys are talking about cigarettes. Trust me, I quit smoking 12 years ago. I did it cold turkey after smoking for 12 years. Almost 2 packs a day sometimes. I did it cold turkey, and for that first week or two, I was just a horror show. I was horrible. You didn't want to be around me. I was just diarrhea of the mouth. Caroline asks, which spirits or demon is best to rid self and loved ones of strong bad habits? Belial. Oof. He's my first one I would go to. In fact, I should work with him because I'm putting on the pounds. I need to go to him and be like, Belial. But here's the problem with Belial. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's a little bit of a concern. Belial is like a bull in a china shop. Well, actually, that's a bad metaphor because it turns out bulls are pretty careful. But the metaphor of the bull in the china shop is like Belial. You tell him what you're trying to do, and there's a straight line that gets you there. And you may have to knock over half the world to do it. And that's the path that he'll pull you through. It's kind of like if you're in the woods and you're trying to get from point A to point B and there's a nice trail, or you can just go right through the bushes. He's going to make you go through the bushes, right through it. And it's going to be beneficial to you. Everything that you experience is what you need to experience in order for you to have the best, the best possible learning experience. But it's also potentially going to be painful. Like if your problem's addiction, you're going to have a problem with addiction. Does that make sense? Like you're going to hit rock bottom maybe, or someone you know is going to die, or something like that. That's going to be a scare. And you're going to go, I better take care of this. Someone just mentioned Azazel. Absolutely, Azazel's a good choice too because he's all about discipline. He teaches war. He teaches those things. So discipline's a big part of that. Helps a lot with that kind of stuff. But I'm going to say Belial is final answer. There's others, but Belial final answer. If you really are serious, because he is going to, okay, Belial and Azazel, but I'm really going to say Belial first because Belial is just going to be like, here's the answer. Because that's what you need with addiction. That's what you need with bad habits. Bad habits don't get cured by, good intentions. Bad habits get cured by hitting rock bottom in many cases, unfortunately. But it's the truth. Star Ruby, good luck with the quitting smoking, I swear. I know people who were on serious drugs that still can't kick smoking. They do everything else. They stop doing it. No, smoking's impossible. That's forever. Gabriel says, DS, you got a PS4? No, I did. Well, I do, but I don't touch it. It's a paperweight because it works, but I hate consoles. I'm PC Master Race. I always have been, always will be. Yes, it sucks when there's games that come out only for consoles. Yes, that sucks. It really despicably sucks. But having a good PC means I can play anything I want, just about. There's almost always a way to do it. And that's what I live for. I'd rather spend, I'm not going to spend $300 or $400 on a computer. I'm going to spend $1,000 plus, and I'm going to build it myself. And it's going to be the best I can put together. And I'm going to be able to play everything. If you guys saw my computer setup, there's a reason why I can play games on this and do video editing and do all these other things at the same time, because I don't skimp on my computer. I make sure my computer is badass. But I am on Steam. But I don't usually make that public because I like being private and kind of being by myself when I want to be. But I have been kicking around the idea of adding Discord access to my Patreon or something like that. Or if you get to know me well enough on Facebook and you become my friend, yeah. So anyone who's my friend would be invited. I obviously am not going to open it up to just random strangers on the internet. I'm sure you understand why. But when I get to know people, I invite them. There's a few people who watch these videos who know who I'm talking about. Johan, thank you, my brother. I will, of course, see you again real soon. For those of you who don't know, Johan is a supporter of mine, like some of the other people commenting. Johan is an interesting character, and I don't know if I should say this because he wants to go. Yeah, this should be fine. Johan wants to. We might be doing some work in the near future. A couple of videos might be coming out between us, and he's a real interesting character. I love him. He's one of the sweetest men I've ever met in my life. Just a genuine, generous, kind soul. And it's a shame you're so far away because you're like some of my other friends. That why couldn't you guys be local? We'd all be hanging out and having bonfires and stuff. It'd be awesome. So I promise you, brother, I will be talking to you soon. All right, guys, I'm gonna be bouncing out right now. I hesitate to say that I love you all, but I do love your energy. I love the divinity within all of you in that way. And you know, a lot of the times I speak like some kind of right-hand path, you know, person who's like I don't know, like a New York version of a sad guru or something. I don't know. But truly and honestly, there's a dark light here that you have to understand. People are blinded by the New Age love and light, the right-hand path. They're afraid to look into the dark side and see the truth of their true nature. They want to take their own power and give it to something else, because let me leave you with this final thought about invoking your true intention. Okay, here's your final thought. Why do we insist that there must be higher powers at all? It's because you're ashamed of the choices you've already made. It's because you're ashamed of the idea that you are responsible for the things that happen to you. It's because you've been taught to be humble. It's because you've been shown by these right-hand path liars. They have taken your power from you. When you come to me and you say, I'm suffering an experience that I don't want, you're suffering because you don't recognize that you are somehow responsible for it, ultimately. And I don't mean just your ego. I mean your higher self is doing this. And if you own that, peace comes to you. You no longer go, God hates me, the devil needs to save me, I need a protector and a savior. No, not at all. You take the power for yourself, and yes, you're still going to fall down and skin your knees, but you're not going to blame the sidewalk anymore. And you're not going to be mad at yourself. You're going to just be. And magic stops becoming a tool to desperately solve problems that you've desperately created, and magic becomes a performance. Magic becomes a celebration. Magic becomes a thing you do to have fun. A thing you do to integrate and align yourself with that higher purpose and power. Not to tell it what to do, but to align with it. Not as an external thing, but as an internal thing. You are like Lucifer, charging out of heaven, saying, I will be higher than the throne. Because Lucifer recognized that that God that was standing there saying, I'm God, was full of shit. And he recognized that he was the source. This is why the modern movement of Luciferianism is very much about enlightenment. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you so much. And I will talk to you again. Well, I don't want to. There's another YouTuber, right? There's a guy that I watch occasionally, and it's like a meme that's stuck in my head, and he says, you know, I'll talk to you again real soon. I hate that because it's such a common thing to say, and then I catch myself saying it. Mind the shadows. Until next time, guys, we'll talk again real soon.